It is my great pleasure and honor to introduce to you Senator Jeff Jackson. Senator Jackson is the youngest Democratic state senator and someone I personally admire very deeply for his character and conviction. Senator Jackson is dedicated to public service. After the attacks of September 11th, he enlisted as a private in the Army Reserve. He deployed to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom and was stationed in the tribal region north of Kandahar for his year-long deployment. After he came home, he went to law school at UNC Chapel Hill with help from the GI Bill. Senator Jackson's military service continues to this day as a captain in the Judge Advocate General's Corps with the Army National Guard. He drills monthly with the 130th Maneuver Enhancement Brigade based in Charlotte. Prior to joining the state Senate, Senator Jackson worked as an assistant district attorney and tried over 100 cases ranging from DWI to first-degree murder. In the process, he saw up close the results of too little investment in public education, economic development, and mental health care, all of which are issues Senator Jackson advocates for in his current role. Please join me in welcoming Senator Jeff Jackson.
Boy, this is great. I've been looking forward to this all day. I never got to be part of an organization like this growing up, and I really wish that I'd had that opportunity. You're all really lucky. I am 33 years old, and somehow I found myself in the North Carolina State Senate. I was a criminal prosecutor, and one day after court, a defense attorney came up to me. He said, "Jeff, did you hear the news?" I said, "No, what happened?" He said, "The mayor of Charlotte was just arrested by the FBI. Turns out the mayor was taking bribes from undercover FBI agents." And I said, "That's amazing. I had no idea." And then I just went on about my day. So I didn't think it would impact me in any way whatsoever. Well, we had to have a new mayor in Charlotte. And they didn't want to pick anyone from the city council because they didn't know how deep the corruption went. They wanted someone from outside city council, so they picked my state senator. His name was Dan Clodfelter. And one of the things that Dan Clodfelter was known for was a man of utmost integrity. He passed a lot of the ethics laws that we have in place here in North Carolina for the General Assembly. So when they needed a man of utmost integrity, they reached out and they got Dan Clodfelter. Dan Clodfelter became the new mayor of Charlotte. This is all about 2 years ago. And then we needed a new Dan Clodfelter, and I got picked to be the new Dan Clodfelter. And the first thing I had to do was quit my job because under the North Carolina Constitution, you are not allowed to be an elected official and a prosecutor at the same time. So I quit my job and drove over to Raleigh. I hadn't been here since, I think, like a 4th grade field trip. It was the last time I was at the General Assembly. The only thing I had in my memory, a distant recollection of really red carpet, which y'all are going to see. I understand you're taking a trip to the General Assembly later on. And like shiny gold railings I had in my head. So I had to use GPS to get there, to drive from Charlotte. And the lady was talking to me and she said, "Turn left, turn right." And then I finally pulled up outside of the General Assembly and the GPS said, "You have arrived." I said, "No kidding. This is fantastic." So I've been there for 2 years now. And I just want to report back and tell you a little bit about what I've seen. The first thing you need to know about the General Assembly is it's full of good people. No matter what your disagreements are, they are really good, honest, decent people who really want the best for the state and really want the best for their districts. And that's a newsflash to a lot of folks who are deeply partisan and approach politics from a deeply partisan perspective and think that the folks on the other side are just all wrong. To actually meet those folks on the other side, and it turns out they're all really good people. I thought that was really comforting. It took me about a week of going around and talking to people. I didn't find any monsters anywhere. I realized, well, I have to adjust my expectations. That being said, we know that we live in a deeply partisan moment. And we know that politics in America and in North Carolina, frankly, is nothing to brag about. The cooperation between the two sides is at a historic low. That recrimination and retribution and political games are at a historic high. And for those of you who are 14, 15, 18 years old, your entire lives, with a few exceptions, You've never seen anything else. I'm 33 for my entire life, with only a few exceptions. I've never seen anything else. You are the cavalry. You're the reason that I'm in political office right now. I'm waiting on you. The problems that we really need to solve, the big problems, those are going to wait for all of you. It's going to be you and me who solve those problems, not me and these folks you're about to go meet. I am half the average age of the General Assembly. That means half the people there are more than twice as old as I am. The group is getting up there. We basically got a retirement community that runs the state at this point. Had a lot of conversations about the moon landing since I've been up there. It's a big deal. We walked on the moon, Jeff. There are real conversations about whether or not to have technology in classrooms. Not like what type, how do we afford it, how do we make sure the kids aren't spending too much time on it. No, should we have it? We have a lot of old ways of thinking that need to change. And then there's just a lot of partisan gridlock and partisan dogma on both sides that needs to be updated. Part of the reason that it hasn't been updated is a feature of politics that's not unique to North Carolina, but worse in North Carolina than anywhere else. And if y'all know your politics, you're going to know something about what I'm about to talk about. It's called gerrymandering. Y'all familiar with the idea of gerrymandering? Gerrymandering is whoever is in political power gets to draw all the maps. I'm here to tell you, if you can draw the map, you control the outcome of the election. There are 170 members of the General Assembly. 90% of us, 90%, cannot lose a general election. It doesn't matter if we're clearly not the right person for the job. We could open a nudist colony on the front lawn of City Hall, and 90% of us cannot lose a general election because we let politicians draw the districts, and they draw districts to protect incumbents and to protect whichever party happens to be in power. My side did this for decades. My side cheated to win elections for decades. And all the people who are in power right now, who are in the other party, because I'm in the minority party, all filed bills to end gerrymandering. You can go back and look them up. 2002, 3, 4, 5, 7, all the way up to 2009, which was the year before there was a switch in power. And my side threw all of those bills in the trash can because we never thought we'd be out of power. What a mistake. Taking the moral low road. Here's what it deprived us of. North Carolina is one of the only true 50-50 states in the country. We could show the country how 50-50 can actually work, how both sides can actually compromise and come together and cooperate and achieve some semblance of a bipartisan agenda for the state. We could show the country. We're certainly not seeing that model out of D.C., which is total gridlock. No other state is an example of true 50-50 that would be emblematic of the type of political conversations the country at large needs to have. That's our opportunity here in North Carolina. That's your opportunity as the cavalry that's going to ride in. Because here's what we aspire to politically in North Carolina. It's not Republicans being in charge or Democrats being in charge. It's people who are reasonable and decent and who are willing to act in public on their reasonability and decency. That's what we aspire to. It's kind of a low bar when you think about it. I am in office right now, in the minority, where almost all of my bills are going to go right in the trash can. That's the price you pay for being in the minority in the current political climate. I live in Charlotte, so I drive 3 hours here. I leave my wife, our 7-year-old, our 14-month-old, to be here and fight basically a losing battle every single day. And I'm doing it waiting for you. I wouldn't be doing this, and I wouldn't be prepared to make a 10-year investment in waiting for you if I weren't so confident in you that you're going to arrive, and that you're going to arrive in a sense of true civic engagement. There are huge areas of policy where 80% of the state agrees that we're not pursuing right now. Public education needs a complete revolution. Early childhood education, in particular, needs a complete revolution. These are things that we can afford, that we can do together. It's going to mean more to you. These issues that we face mean more to you than the current folks who are in charge of the General Assembly, because you're going to live through the consequences in a way that they're not. No matter who's in charge, we're always going to have to make hard decisions. Y'all had a budget writing exercise earlier today, right? Where you were actually confronted with real numbers. North Carolina budget's about $22 billion. I had someone come and visit me just 15 minutes before I got here, and they said, Jeff, we've got a new program. We think it's a great idea. It's going to cost $2 billion. Well, you know, out of a $22 billion budget, that's a bit of a hit. Where do you propose that we find that money? What else needs to be cut? And of course, there's never an answer there, because that's the hard question. No matter who's in charge, we're never going to be able to afford all the things that we want to do. But you are already educating yourself about the practicalities of dealing with that. How to have that conversation, how to make those choices. And here's what I love about you in particular, your generation. It's really our generation. You're digital natives. That's going to be the big change. That's why your generation is going to be different from every other generation that ever assumed political leadership. You grew up with exposure to the internet. That means you have been exposed to exponentially more information than any other generation in history. You're comfortable with information. You're comfortable seeking out information. You're comfortable asking for information and for evidence. And too often, we do things in government based on no evidence whatsoever. Based on a friendly lobbyist who says, hey, Jeff, we're buddies. Help us out with this idea. A ton of state government gets done that way. And you all are going to bring that to an end. Every tax dollar is scarce. We're going to have an evidence-based model for how we spend all of that money going forward. And that's going to be part of the revolution that you all are going to usher in. You have this wonderful opportunity to really educate yourself much more than any preceding generation about the political lay of the land. Used to be you had to go find a newspaper and buy it. You don't have to do that anymore. You've all got phones. You can all look up anything you want right now and learn about any issue you want. I encourage you to do that as a core component of your civic activism. Whatever you think of as being important for you to do as someone who is civically engaged and politically concerned, add to that list reading the news about political issues. Not the horse race, not whatever horrible thing Donald Trump just said. That's not particularly important. What is important are the underlying issues. You have access to that type of information on a scale that nobody else does, so that when you do assume political leadership, you are years ahead of where you would otherwise be. Start reading those sections of the newspaper. Remember, it's free and it's in your pocket. Not asking that much. Make becoming an informed citizen a core component of your civic engagement. Having an opinion is great. Being able to articulate that opinion is wonderful. But actually knowing what you're talking about, there's no excuse not to at this point. You're all able to do that. And if you actually assume that challenge and meet that standard, you will be a lethal political component at some point when you assume leadership. You will be highly effective. Last thing, I want all of you to feel free, personally, to be in touch with me anytime. This is part of the duty that I assume as being 30 years closer to you than just about anyone else in the General Assembly. If you have a question about what's happening in state government, send me a message on Facebook. If you want to run for office, and you want to talk to somebody, or you're thinking about running for office, and you want to talk to somebody, send me an email. On my official account, all you have to do is Google my name. It'll come right up. Send me a message on Facebook. I want to be a resource for you, believe it or not, and you might not feel this way. This is the type of organization that truly does produce future governors, future senators. The fact that you're here right now separates you by miles from the other interests the other folks have your age right now, and indicate that you are actually on that track. You might not feel locked onto that track right now, but I bet you anything, we're going to have dozens of political representatives out of this room right now. Please feel free to use me as a resource. Be in touch anytime. And like the page on Facebook. Thank you very much. Good to see everybody.